The last glimpse Zaraval had of her family's merchant vessel was its shimmering hull disappearing into the swirling purple nebula. Her tiny fingers pressed against the observation deck's transparent aluminum as the emergency beacon's light grew fainter and fainter until it vanished completely. The 10-cycle-old luminary tried to call out with her species' light-based communication, her skin pulsing with desperate patterns of blue and white. But the distance was too great for anyone to see her signals. "Your docking fees are due, young one," a gravelly voice interrupted her vigil. Station Master Kex, a towering Centaurian with metallic scales, loomed over her. His secondary arms were already tapping away at a datapad, calculating her debt. Zaraval's skin dimmed to a pale lavender, the luminary equivalent of a whisper. "My family will return soon," they promised. "Promises don't pay for life support," Kex replied, his scales shifting to display the calculated sum. 300 credits per cycle. Heaven's Gate trading station shows mercy to no one, not even little ones separated from their pod. The young luminary's inner light flickered with distress. 300 credits was triple the standard rate, but she had no way to prove it. Her family's datapad had been lost in the rush to evacuate their ship after the warning systems detected a cascade failure in the drive core. As she walked through the station's merchant district, trying to find someone willing to offer work to a child, other aliens quickly moved aside. Their whispers followed her like shadows. "A luminary child. Here, keep your younglings away. You know what they say about their kind. Soul stealers, the lot of them, using that pretty light show to hypnotize their prey." Zaraval's skin dulled to gray, trying to be as inconspicuous as possible. The stories weren't true. Her people were peaceful merchants and artists who used their bioluminescence for communication and creating beautiful works of light art. But centuries of rumors and misunderstandings had turned her species' gift into something others feared. She found work cleaning the recycling units, dangerous jobs no one else wanted. The cleaning chemicals made her skin itch and disrupted her natural light patterns, but it earned her enough credits to pay for a tiny sleep pod and basic nutrition packs. Weeks passed. The station's rotation brought artificial night and day, but Zaraval measured time by the ships that came and went. Merchant vessels from the Centaurian Alliance, diplomatic shuttles from the Rigelian Consensus, even the occasional Mantodian high ship. None would take on a luminary passenger, not even a child. Then came the day that changed everything. Zaraval was cleaning near the outer docking ring when a massive ship emerged from hyperspace. Its hull bore the scars of countless adventures, patches of mismatched armor plating telling stories of battles and close escapes. The vessel's markings identified it as human in origin, a species that most aliens spoke of in fearful whispers. "They're savages," a passing Rigelian merchant told his companion. "Did you hear what happened in the Carina sector? A human ship actually rammed a pirate vessel to save a refugee transport." "Barbaric," his friend agreed. "They say they'll eat anything if they're hungry enough, even other sentients." Zaraval watched the human ship dock, its massive form dwarfing the other vessels. She should have been scared. Everyone knew humans were dangerous. Yet something about their ship felt different. The other vessels docked at Heaven's Gate were all sleek and pristine, while this one wore its history openly, like her people wore their emotions in their light. As the docking clamps engaged, she noticed something that made her inner light pulse with surprise. The ship's name was written in standard trade script, but beneath it was a line in human writing, and beneath that was a third line, written in the light pattern language of her people. It was slightly incorrect, like someone had learned it from old trading records, but it was there. The name translated to Star Chaser, and the light pattern carried a second message. "All are welcome here." The Star Chaser's airlock cycled with a deep hiss that echoed through the docking bay. Zaraval watched from behind a cargo container, her skin dimmed to match the station's gray walls. The first human to emerge was tall and lean, wearing a captain's jacket adorned with patches from dozens of worlds. Her black hair was streaked with silver, and pulled back in a neat braid. "Captain Chen," a station official greeted nervously. "Heaven's Gate welcomes your business." The Centaurian's scales flickered with poorly hidden apprehension. "Station Master Kex," Captain Chen replied, her voice warm but firm. "Your welcome would be more convincing without the security drones hovering above us." She pointed upward without even looking, causing the official to flinch. More humans emerged from the airlock, a diverse crew that moved with the easy confidence of a family rather than just shipmates. A young engineer was already scanning the hull with complex instruments, while the ship's doctor examined atmospheric readings with critical eyes. "Merely standard procedure for..." Kex paused diplomatically. "For vessels of your reputation." "Of course," Chen smiled, showing teeth, a gesture that made the Centaurian take a step back. "We'll need repairs and supplies. 3 days should be sufficient." Zoraval's attention was drawn to a younger human female who had wandered away from the group. She carried tools and wore coveralls covered in colorful patches, but what caught the luminary's eye was the small light she was using to check power conduits. The human was holding it in a pattern that, completely by accident, spelled out "Hello Friend" in luminary light language. Without thinking, Zoraval's skin brightened slightly to return the greeting. The human's head snapped up, tools forgotten as she spotted the faint glow behind the cargo container. "Cap," she called out, but kept her voice gentle. "I think we have a visitor." Captain Chen turned, her expression softening as she saw Zoraval's hiding spot. She took a few steps closer, then knelt down to appear less intimidating. "It's all right, little one. We won't hurt you." Kex's scales shifted to a warning pattern. "Captain, that's a luminary child. Surely you've heard the stories." "I've heard many stories," Chen interrupted, not taking her eyes off Zoraval. "I find experience is a better teacher than rumor." She reached into her pocket and pulled out a ration bar, not the standard issue kind, but one made specially for children with bright, colorful wrapping. Zoraval hesitated. Her skin flickered between gray camouflage and her natural bioluminescence, creating a shimming effect that reflected her uncertainty. The human crew watched with open fascination, rather than the usual fear or disgust. "When did you last eat properly?" the ship's doctor asked, her medical scanner already out. "Those nutrition packs they sell here barely count as food." Two cycles ago," Zoraval admitted, her light patterns expressing embarrassment. "The cleaning work doesn't pay much, and the station fees. 300 credits per cycle," Chen stated, her voice hardening as she turned to Kex. "Triple the standard rate. Interesting policy." The station master's scales rippled defensively. "The luminary requires special accommodations." "The only special thing I see," the captain interrupted again, "is a child trying to survive while being overcharged for basic necessities." She turned back to Zoraval, her voice gentling once more. "Would you like to join us for a real meal? Our ship's galley might not serve anything that glows, but our cook makes the best dumplings in 3 sectors. Zoraval's skin brightened with hope before fear crept back in. "But aren't humans dangerous? The stories say." The young engineer laughed warmly. "Oh, we're plenty dangerous." She gestured at their heavily armed ship, "but only to those who harm our family." She held out her hand, still holding the light that had accidentally started their conversation. "Want to learn how to really say hello friend in Luminary? I've been trying to learn, but I think I'm getting it all wrong." The Star Chaser's galley was nothing like the sterile feeding stations on Heaven's Gate. Warm light spilled from old-fashioned fixtures, and the walls were covered with holographic windows showing scenes from Earth, deep oceans where bioluminescent creatures danced through darkness, forests filled with fireflies, and auroras painting polar skies in sheets of living color. Zoraval sat at the crew's table, her skin glowing with fascination as she watched the ship's cook, Miguel, prepare what he called comfort food. The kitchen filled with strange but wonderful smells as he worked, telling stories about his grandmother's recipes. On Earth, Miguel explained, setting a steaming bowl before her, We have creatures that shine just like you. Deep in our oceans, there are fish that make their own light to survive in the darkness. We even have tiny insects that glow to find their families." The young luminary's patterns shifted to express wonder. "Really? Other beings that make light? Humans can't generate light themselves," Captain Chen said, joining them with a datapad. "But we've always been fascinated by those who can. That's why so many of our stories are about finding light in darkness." The engineer from earlier, Jenny, was attempting to mimic Zaraval's light patterns using small handheld lights. Her efforts were clumsy but earnest, making the luminary child's glow pulse with amusement for the first time in weeks. "You're saying purple sandwich instead of good morning," Zaraval giggled, her natural luminescence brightening with joy. The ship's doctor, Dr. Maya, was less amused as she reviewed her medical scans. "The chemicals they have you working with in those recycling units are toxic to your bioluminescent cells. No wonder your light patterns were so dim when we found you." Captain Chen's expression hardened as she studied her datapad. "It's not just you, little one. We found records of other stranded children being exploited here. The station authorities charge them impossible fees, force them into dangerous work, then pocket the profits." Zaraval's glow dimmed slightly. "There are others. I never saw them. They keep you separated," Dr. Maya explained gently. "Easier to control people when they feel alone." The captain set down her datapad with determination. "We're not leaving you here. I'm going to file adoption papers for you to join our crew officially." "But," Zaraval's patterns shifted to show confusion and hope. "Won't that cause trouble? The other species are scared of both humans and luminary." Jenny grinned, still playing with her lights. "That's what makes it perfect. They're all so busy being scared of the dangerous humans that they won't notice us helping people right under their noses." A soft chime interrupted their conversation. The ship's communication officer, Raj, appeared in the doorway. "Captain, you need to see this. Station authorities are claiming we need special permits to adopt high-risk species. They're demanding we pay extra processing fees." "Of course they are," Chen sighed, but her eyes held a spark of challenge. "Well, if they want to play bureaucratic games, let's show them how humans do paperwork." Zaraval watched as the crew sprang into action. Jenny began teaching her how to interface her bioluminescence with the ship's systems, while Miguel packed extra meals for her to share with any other stranded children she could find. Dr. Maya prepared documentation about the health violations in the recycling units, and Raj started making encoded transmissions to human advocacy groups. The young luminary's light patterns swirled with complex emotions: gratitude, hope, and something else she hadn't felt since losing her family: belonging. These humans, who everyone feared as dangerous barbarians, were fighting for her with datapads and documents instead of weapons. "Don't worry," Captain Chen said softly, noticing her swirling patterns. "Sometimes the fiercest battles are fought with words and patience. And if there's one thing humans are good at, it's being stubbornly persistent when protecting our family." Zaraval's glow strengthened as she realized the truth. She wasn't just getting rescuers. She was getting a new family, one that shone with their own kind of light. Station security drones hovered outside the Star Chaser's docking bay, their sensor arrays focused on the ship's every movement. Inside, Zaraval watched the surveillance feeds with Captain Chen, her skin dimming automatically to avoid detection. "They're watching all the primary exits," the captain noted, but her tone held more amusement than concern. "Quite an audience for a simple repair stop." The ship's security officer, Marcus, pulled up another holographic display. "The rumors are spreading through the station. Apparently, we're planning to harvest Zaraval for some sort of human ritual." He rolled his eyes. "At least they're creative." "Let them talk," Chen replied, a plan forming in her eyes. "The more they focus on imaginary threats, the less they'll notice what we're really doing." Zaraval's patterns flickered with curiosity. "What are we really doing?" Jenny appeared from a maintenance shaft, her coveralls covered in new stains. "We're going to help you save everyone they've hurt, Starlight." The nickname made Zaraval's glow pulse warmly. But first, want to see something cool? The engineer led them to the ship's communication array, where she'd installed a series of crystalline prisms. Your light patterns operate on frequencies we can't replicate with standard tech. But if you shine through these, she gestured encouragingly. Zaraval carefully increased her luminescence, directing it through the crystals. The light split and recombined, creating a signal that the ship's systems could read and transmit. Her patterns expressed pure joy as words appeared on the nearby screen. "You've turned me into a living transmitter," she exclaimed, her excitement making the translated messages appear in bright, bold text. "Better," Jenny grinned. "You're now our secret communication network." The station monitors everything, but they can't track what they don't understand. Dr. Maya entered with her medical scanner active, maintaining their cover story of a routine checkup. "I've made contact with 3 other children in the lower levels, 2 Rigelian siblings and a young Mantodian scout, all stranded and working dangerous jobs to pay special accommodation fees." The captain's expression darkened. "How many more are hidden away in the station's shadows?" Raj's voice came through the intercom. "Captain, we have visitors. Station Master Kex is approaching with private security contractors. They're claiming they need to conduct a welfare check on our guest." "Right on schedule," Chen smiled. "Zaraval, remember what we practiced." The young luminary nodded, her skin shifting to a sickly gray tone while maintaining a subtle pattern that only Jenny's new system could decode. She looked perfectly miserable while actually transmitting data about the station's security patrols. When the airlock opened, Kex entered with 4 armed guards. Their weapons weren't drawn, but their postures screamed hostility. "Captain Chen," the station master's scales flickered with false concern, "we've received reports about the welfare of the luminary child. Given your species, unusual dietary requirements." "She's eating better than she has in weeks," Dr. Maya interrupted, displaying medical charts. "Though these readings showing chemical exposure from your recycling units are concerning. Our safety protocols are not your concern," one of the guards growled. "The child comes with us for protective custody." Zaraval shrank against Captain Chen, her dim gray coloring making her look weak and afraid. Only Jenny noticed the rapid-fire transmission of security codes being sent through the crystal array. "Actually," Chen replied calmly, "according to Galactic Law Section 47B, Paragraph 3, any minor seeking asylum has the right to choose their guardian. We submitted the paperwork this morning." Kex's scales rippled with surprise. "That law requires witness statements from 3 different species." The captain activated a whole screen showing signed documents. "Amazing how helpful people can be when they learn their own children might be next on your list of targets." The station master's composure cracked slightly. "You have no proof of any." A slight smile crossed Chen's face. "Would you like to see what we don't have proof of?" "I have quite a list. We could start with the missing refugee reports, or perhaps the financial records showing where all those special fees really go." As the humans and station authorities engaged in their battle of words and laws, Zaraval continued her secret transmissions. Throughout Heaven's Gate, other hidden children received messages of hope, written in light that only they could see. The Star Chaser's engine room hummed with quiet energy as Jenny made final adjustments to the expanded crystal array. Zaraval watched in fascination as her light patterns, once considered a mark of shame on this station, created intricate data streams across the ship's systems. "Try the new frequency," Jenny suggested, her hands dancing over the controls. "Think of it like singing in a different key." Zaraval adjusted her bioluminescence, and suddenly the ship's internal displays blazed with information. Security patrol schedules, maintenance access codes, and hidden camera feeds appeared in cascading streams of light-encoded data. "Perfect," Jenny exclaimed. "You're not just transmitting anymore. You're interfacing directly with our systems. The station's security has no idea what they're looking at. To them, it just looks like normal bioluminescent activity." The young luminary's patterns shifted to express both pride and concern. "I found 15 more children hidden in the lower levels," she reported. "Some have been here even longer than I have." Captain Chen studied the new information, her expression grim. Each one charged special fees, each one working dangerous jobs to survive. Kex and his partners have turned this station into a prison for stranded children. Dr. Maya entered with fresh medical scans. "The Regellian siblings we contacted are showing signs of radiation exposure. The Mantodian scouts' molt patterns are disrupted from chemical contamination. We need to move soon." A soft alert chimed through the ship. Raj's voice followed. "Captain, we have movement. Station security is redirecting incoming ships away from our docking section. They're trying to isolate us." "Not just that," Marcus added from his security station. "I'm picking up encrypted transmissions to 3 private security vessels. They're registered to Blackstone operations." Chen's eyes narrowed. "Mercenaries." Kex is getting desperate. Zaraval's glow dimmed with fear, but she didn't stop transmitting data. "I remember Blackstone ships. They were in the sector when my family's ship." Her patterns wavered. "It wasn't an accident, was it? The drive core failure?" "No, little one," Chen said softly. "We've suspected for a while that Kex had partners who created accidents to strand valuable targets. Children are easy to control, easy to exploit, and their families often lack the resources to investigate." The captain turned to her crew. "But they made a mistake this time. They assumed humans would be too feared, too distrusted for anyone to believe us." Her smile held a fierce edge. "They forgot that being the monsters in everyone's stories means we have nothing to lose by telling the truth." Jenny's console lit up with urgent signals. "Captain, Zaraval's network is picking up movement in the maintenance shafts. The other children say security teams are searching the lower levels." "They're looking for their leverage," Marcus growled. "If they find those kids before we can act." "They won't," Zaraval said firmly, her light pattern steadying with determination. Her fear melted away as she watched the human crew. These supposed savages who had shown her more kindness than any of the civilized species on the station. She increased power to her transmission network. Throughout the station's hidden spaces, other frightened children received messages encoded in subtle light patterns reflected from every shiny surface. "Stay hidden. Stay safe. The humans have a plan. We're not alone anymore." Captain Chen watched the young luminary with pride. "Jenny, how long until the modifications are ready?" "The crystal array is at 90%, the engineer reported. "Once it's done, Zaraval's light can reach every corner of the station simultaneously. No more shadows for them to hide their secrets in." "Good." The captain activated the ship's internal comm. "All hands, prepare for protocol sunrise. Raj, send word to our friends in the trade fleet. Marcus, get our defense systems ready. Non-lethal options only. Dr. Maya, prepare the medical bay for guests." She turned to Zaraval, who was glowing with newfound confidence. "Ready to help us light up their darkness, Starlight." The young luminary's patterns blazed with determination. "Ready, Captain. Let's show them what happens when they fear the wrong monsters." The Star Chaser's warning klaxons filled the corridors with pulsing red light as 3 Blackstone vessels dropped out of hyperspace. Their sleek, predatory forms took up position around the station, cutting off escape routes. "Subtle," Captain Chen remarked dryly, watching the tactical display. "Kex must be paying them well to risk such an obvious show of force." Zaraval stood at the crystal array interface, her pattern steady despite the tension. Through her network, she could feel the fear of the hidden children as security teams got closer to their hiding spots. "They're deploying boarding shuttles," Marcus reported. "Standard mercenary tactics. They'll try to overwhelm us with numbers while the station claims they're just responding to a security threat." Chen nodded. "And how many of our friends are in position?" A small smile crossed the security officer's face. 7 independent trading vessels have coincidentally dropped out of hyperspace just outside the station's jurisdiction. 3 of them are registered to families who lost children here. Transmission incoming, Raj announced. It's Kex. The station master's hologram appeared on the bridge, his scales shifting in patterns of barely contained rage. Captain Chen, you have 1 hour to surrender the luminary child and withdraw your baseless accusations. After that, I cannot guarantee your crew's safety from independent security contractors. Interesting choice of words, Chen replied calmly. Tell me, do all your independent contractors specialize in creating drive core failures for wealthy merchant ships, or do some of them handle other tasks, like ensuring children have nowhere else to go? Kex's scales flickered with surprise before he could control them. Behind him, Zaraval's network caught the subtle movement of data being deleted from station servers. Your attempts at slander. The station master began, but Chen cut him off. Jenny, now. The engineer activated the modified crystal array. Zaraval's light pulsed through the prisms, amplified and split into thousands of beams that raced through the station's optical cables. Every screen, every holographic display, every data terminal suddenly blazed with proof of the station's crimes. Financial records showing where the special fees really went. Security footage of children being forced into dangerous work. Medical scans documenting injuries and exposure. And most damning of all, communications between station authorities and Blackstone operations discussing which ships to target. What have you done? Kex snarled. We didn't do anything. Chen smiled. You did. We just showed everyone the truth. Zaraval, how are our young friends doing? The luminary child's patterns shifted to convey success. Throughout the station, other children were emerging from hiding, but not into the hands of security teams. The station's maintenance workers, shop owners, and ordinary citizens who had seen the evidence were moving to protect them. Blackstone ships are powering weapons, Marcus reported, but he didn't sound worried. Let them, Chen replied. Raj, signal our friends. The 7 independent ships suddenly powered up, their weapons arrays targeting the mercenary vessels. From their transponders came a unified message. Our children are coming home. Kex's hologram vanished as alarms blared through the station. Security teams found themselves blocked by crowds of angry station residents. The Blackstone ships, realizing they were outgunned, began powering down their weapons. Captain, Zaraval called out, her patterns expressing urgent concern. I'm detecting an encrypted transmission from Kex's office. He's trying to wipe the station's databases. Jenny grinned. Let him try. We've got something better than backups. We've got you. The young luminary understood. She poured her light into the crystal array, converting years of stolen data into patterns of pure luminescence. Kex could delete all he wanted, but the evidence was now written in light itself, preserved in frequencies only she could access. You were right, Captain, Zaraval said, her patterns glowing with fierce joy. Sometimes the best way to fight darkness is simply to shine brighter. Chen placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. That's my girl. Now let's go help those children find their way home. The Star Chaser's crew moved into action, ready to protect their newfound family and all the others who needed their light. The Star Chaser's medical bay bustled with activity as Dr. Maya coordinated care for the rescued children. The Regellian siblings huddled together on one bed, their spines finally relaxing as treatment began for their radiation exposure. The young Mantodian scout chittered happily as specially formulated nutrients helped stabilize its disrupted molt cycle. Zaraval moved among them, her light patterns offering comfort in ways that transcended spoken language. She had discovered that her bioluminescence could be soothing to others, especially the younger children who had been alone in the darkness for so long. You're a natural healer, Dr. Maya observed, watching as the luminary child helped calm a frightened Centaurian youngster. Your light patterns are actually helping to regulate their stress responses. In the station above, justice was taking its course. Captain Chen watched through the observation window as galactic patrol vessels dropped out of hyperspace, their arrival heralded by the familiar flash of quantum drives. Kex and 3 of his senior administrators are in custody, Marcus reported, joining her at the window. The Blackstone ships tried to run, but our friends in the trade fleet disabled their engines. Turns out merchant ships can be quite formidable when their captains are angry parents. What about the evidence? Chen asked, though her slight smile suggested she already knew the answer. Zara Val's light-encoded copies are being translated into official documentation. The station's database wipe didn't matter. We have proof of everything. The Galactic Patrol is already talking about using similar crystal arrays to prevent future data tampering. Jenny burst into the medical bay, her coveralls even more stained than usual. Captain, you need to see this. Her excitement was contagious as she activated a holoscreen. We're receiving transmissions from all over the sector. Other stations, trading posts, even some colonies. They all have stories about missing children and suspicious accidents. The pattern was bigger than just Heaven's Gate, Chen mused. Kex and his partners had operations everywhere. Jenny emphasized with satisfaction. Past tense. The evidence we exposed is bringing down their entire network. And look at this. She switched to another channel where news was spreading through the trading networks. The story was already becoming legend among the space lanes, how the feared humans of the Star Chaser had revealed themselves to be guardians rather than monsters, how a lonely luminary child had turned her people's feared abilities into a tool for justice, and how the light of truth had finally penetrated decades of darkness. There's more, Raj called over the intercom. We're receiving messages from luminary ships. They've heard what happened, what Zara Val did. They're coming to help with the rescued children, offering sanctuary to any who need it. Zara Val's patterns flickered with surprise and joy. My people are coming. But I thought they avoided this sector because everyone feared them. Things change, Captain Chen said softly. Sometimes it just takes one person brave enough to shine their light differently. The young luminary looked around the medical bay of the children she had helped save. Some were already being reunited with their families, their tearful embraces visible through the observation windows. Others would soon find new homes among the luminary ships or with human colonies that had volunteered to take them in. What happens now? She asked, her patterns showing both hope and uncertainty. That depends, Chen replied. Your people are coming, and they'll be welcomed here now. You could go with them, help build new bridges between our species. She paused, then added with a warm smile, or you could stay with us. Your crystal array interface would make the Star Chaser the most advanced communication hub in the sector. More importantly, your family now. Before Zara Val could respond, alarms chimed through the ship. But these weren't warning signals. They were proximity alerts for incoming vessels, their transponders broadcasting messages of gratitude and friendship in every known language. The young luminary stood at the window, watching as ships of all species converged on Heaven's Gate station. Her light patterns merged with the stars beyond, no longer hiding, no longer afraid. She had found her place in the universe, where both her light and her heart could shine freely. 3 months after the events at Heaven's Gate station, the Star Chaser's observation deck had been transformed. Crystal arrays lined the windows, their facets splitting Zara Val's light into rainbow patterns that danced across the stars. The young luminary stood at the main console, coordinating communications between a fleet of ships working to dismantle the last remnants of Kex's network. Message from the Regelian medical station, she announced, her patterns expressing satisfaction. The last group of rescued children has been cleared to return home. No lasting damage from their exposure. Captain Chen nodded approvingly. Send them our thanks. And the Mantodian scout. Already back with their hive. Zara Val's light rippled with happiness. They've appointed a permanent ambassador to the human colonies. Apparently, they're fascinated by our crystal array communication system. The observation deck's door slid open as Jenny entered, carrying what looked like a modified engineering helmet. Finally finished it, ready to test the new personal array. Zara Val practically bounced with excitement. The engineer had been working on a portable version of their crystal communication system, allowing the young luminary to maintain her network even when away from the ship. The luminary diplomatic fleet arrives tomorrow, Chen reminded them, though her smile was knowing. They'll want to see what their newest ambassador has been up to. The choice had been surprisingly easy in the end. While grateful for her people's offer to return to their ships, Zaraval had found her true home among the stars with her human family. Instead, she had accepted a position as ambassador between their species, using the Star Chaser as her base of operations. Message incoming from Heaven's Gate. Raj's voice came through the intercom. The station's new council wants to officially rename the trading post. They're asking for your input. The station had changed dramatically since Kex's arrest. The corrupt administration had been replaced by a diverse council that included representatives from every species, including humans. The once feared trading post had become a symbol of cooperation and protection for vulnerable travelers. Hard to believe it's the same place, Jenny mused, making final adjustments to the helmet. Remember how everyone used to run from humans and luminary? Now they're requesting our help setting up crystal arrays in every sector. Zaraval's patterns shifted to show thoughtful reflection. They feared what they didn't understand. Humans because of stories about their fierceness, my people because of legends about our light. Nobody stopped to think that fierceness could mean protection, or that light could mean truth. Speaking of truth, Chen said, activating a holoscreen, your parents' ship was found. Her expression softened at Zaraval's sudden bright pulse of emotion. They're alive. The drive core failure forced them into a remote system with a damaged quantum communicator. A human mining vessel found them during a routine survey. The young luminary's patterns blazed with joy before settling into something calmer, more certain. When can we go get them? Already on our way, the captain smiled. I thought you might want to show them how their daughter has been changing the galaxy. Jenny finally finished with the helmet, holding it up triumphantly. Perfect timing. Now you can demonstrate the new array. Just think, soon every ship could have a system like this, combining human technology with luminary abilities. No more lost children, no more hidden crimes. Zaraval took the helmet, her light patterns mixing with the crystal facets to create a dazzling display. Through the observation window, she could see ships of all species moving peacefully through the stars. Human vessels flew alongside luminary ships, their crews working together to make space safer for everyone. You know what the best part is? She asked, her patterns expressing contentment and belonging. Nobody runs away anymore when they see our ship coming. Instead, they wave and send greetings in light code. She paused, adding with a touch of mischief, though some still think humans eat their enemies. Captain Chen laughed. Let them think that. Sometimes the best way to protect people is to let others fear you a little, just as long as the right ones know the truth. The truth, Zaraval agreed, her light merging with the stars beyond. That family isn't about species or appearance. It's about finding people who shine with the same light in their hearts, even if they show it differently. Together, they watched the galaxy spread out before them, filled with endless possibilities for new connections, new understanding, and new ways of bringing light to the darkness.